Welcome back aboard the Axopar 22. Today we're going to take this boat out and show you a few of the handling and performance characteristics of this model. Obviously we've shown you over this boat in detail previously. If you would like to take a look at the detailed walkthrough, click the link below. But today we're going to talk about performance and handling. Now the Axopar hull has become famous for its performance and comfort at speed in a range of conditions. The sharp entry bow combined with the twin-stepped hull makes for a high-performing, smooth, fast and efficient vessel. And the Axopar 22 is no exception at all. Today, weather-wise, we've got about a 1.5 to 2 meter southerly swell coming in through the heads, combined with a 15 to 20 knot westerly wind. So we've got essentially waves against wind, which is going to create quite a bit of mess for us to go and demonstrate the boat in. It's really exciting to see how the smallest hull in the Axopar range performs. We know the 37, the 28, they're great boats, but to see how that technology from the larger boats has been fused into a 22 footer is really exciting. We hope you enjoy the video. So on this Axopar 22, it's obviously the Spider model. It is available in two options, so you can have a T-top. On the back of the boat, we've got the single 200 horsepower V6 Mercury engine. So this is the largest engine you can have on this model. Other options are a 115 and a 150. All are perfectly capable of powering the boat at a good speed with good performance as well. So I'm just coming out of the speed limit zone now, and I'm going to take off on the boat. The boat climbs really nicely through the speed. And as I come up, as I get to about the 13, 14, 15 knots speed, the bow has risen very, very slightly. Now normally on any boat, the bow would rise a lot. This is really impressively low at this point, and I think that's the Axopar DNA and the planing technology really coming into its own. As I go a little bit faster, I'm hitting 20 knots now, and I start to trim the engines up a little bit. So I'm 12 degrees up on the engine now, and the boat's sitting really nicely at 25 knots. Now, this is a perfect planing speed. The boat's performing nicely. I'm burning about 30 litres of fuel per hour. So if I'm to nudge this up to 28 knots, say, that's a really nice cruising speed. I'm burning 28 litres per hour. So that's about 1 litre per nautical mile. So that's incredibly efficient cruising speed. Gives you a good range on a full tank of fuel. As yet, I have not used the trim tabs at all, which I think is very impressive. And really, I only need the trim tabs to roll the boat, be it because of a crosswind or being unevenly loaded. Other than trimming the engine, I'm really just letting the hull of the boat do its job really nicely. Pushing up above 30 knots now, coming into a bit of chop, a bit of wake, cutting through about 1 to 2 feet of chop at the moment. That 20 knot westerly wind is really kicking up quite a bit of surface chop, even in these protected areas of the harbour. Now this boat tops out at about 42 to 43 knots, depending on the weight on board. We won't be doing that today in this kind of conditions. You're obviously driving the boat to the conditions. But one thing I will say is the hull is so well balanced. So I've trimmed up now 20 degrees on the engine. We're cruising along at 23, 24 knots. And there's a fair bit of mess on the bow of the boat. But I can take my hands off the wheel. It's hydraulic manual steering, and the boat just goes in a straight line. It drives itself, so it's a very comforting ride. I've got the wheel's not being pulled around by the movement of the boat and the engine on the back. It's a very nicely powered engine. The 200 is obviously the biggest one, so it feels like driving a high-powered go-kart or a kind of a small race car. It's really quite fun. In these kind of conditions, there's a lot of surface chop, but I can put it into really quite a hard turn, and I'm not losing any grip. 20-25 knots, that's almost full lock on the wheel, and it just goes around really nicely, which is, yeah, it's typical of the Axopar hull. It's exactly what we have on the 28 and the 37 as well. So it's really quite fun to drive. It's pretty impressive, to be honest. Woo! Nice, it's good. Let's take the boat offshore now. We'll go out through the heads and put it into a bit of mess. Yeah, we'll talk you through what happens, how it drives, how it rides the waves. I can tell you now it's going to be a good trip. It's going to be a lot of fun, so hang in there. We'll take you for a ride. So we're heading offshore now. We're doing about 30 knots offshore. Although we're running downwind, we have got that southerly swell coming in through the head, so it is pretty lumpy out here, and the boat's handling it fantastic. I mean, I just wish I could see it. Like, it feels awesome. I'm sure it looks that way too. We'll head out a little bit further to allow the wind coming off the land to have a bit more of a run up as it goes over the water, and we'll see how we go. So far, not much salt on the windscreen. Obviously a bit of spray, quite a bit coming out the back, but it's mostly caused by the wind on the surface of the water. But this is really quite incredible, this ride. Wow, this is insane. This is like nothing I've ever done before. This is wild. 30 knots, doing 30 knots. Some of the messiest things I've driven the road. So how good was that? That was so much fun. Now, I know that often waves and wind and waves don't look that big on camera. It always looks smaller on a camera, but that was seriously impressive stuff. So that swell coming up against the wind, the westerly wind that we've got at the moment, was really quite something. Now, generally, I wouldn't go out on a day and enjoy 30 knots of wind in a big southerly swell, you know. It's not something you typically do on your day out, but to demonstrate the capabilities of the boat, that's why we took it out today. Now, it was a little bit wet at the back. There was a lot of spray that was created mostly by the wind, but it's not your typical day out, of course, on a lovely day boat like we have here. But it's reassuring to know that the hull and the design and the build quality of the boat is up to it. That sharp entry hull really comes into its own in those conditions. You're not bouncing off the top of the big waves, you're just cutting through the top of them, and then it's a soft landing into the next one. On our way out, it was nice and smoothish, running downwind. As the waves got bigger as we were heading offshore, I was trimming the bow down a bit with the trim tabs, and this was just giving me a bit more drive, smoothing out that ride. Once I was offshore, it was trim tabs all the way up, just to lift that bow a little bit, and then also trimming the engine. So trimming the engine in relation to my speed. The faster I'm going, the more I'm trimming up, just to give the bow that lift it needs as you're cutting through that chop. Coming back in, we had a 30 knot westerly blowing against us, and then we were doing 30 knots in through the heads, you know, in a 3-4 foot chop, and that's 60 knots over the deck. So that's an incredible amount of wind, an incredible amount of potential for spray, for a very uncomfortable ride, but it was really quite something to be in relative comfort coming in. And I had this windscreen, which you can obviously raise if you do want to stand up. But I was sitting here, I was on the bolster, and the wind was going straight over my head. So, you know, even though we were out there was spray, it was an exciting ride. I did still stay relatively dry and comfortable. It was great fun, some of the most fun I've ever had on a boat when I've been driving it. So really an impressive ride, that's for sure. Thanks for watching that performance review on the Axopar 22. I had a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it too. It was good to get this boat out performing. Obviously we've done quite a few videos with this boat in calmer conditions, walkthroughs, the like, but it's good to finally demonstrate this boat in the environments it really was built for. My name is Joe Fox from the team at eYachts. If you did like this video, give us a like and a subscribe to the eYachts YouTube channel to be updated when we put more Axopar specific content up. If you would like to get in touch with the team as well, either myself or my colleagues at eYachts, about these impressive boats, we'd be more than happy to help you out with information. We'll see you soon.